Jaya Radha. Oh, do you know the song? Jaya Radha Madhava? Maybe not. Can someone get him a sheet? All right. No. No, it's a different one. Someone who knows where the sheet is needs to be able to give him the sheet. It's on the door.
Yeah, we're looking for it.
It's got to be there. There's about 3 of them. Hit a roadblock. There we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kwantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 24th day of July 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are studying Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 16, King Chitraketu Meets the Supreme Lord, text number 48. Okay. Yam Vai Shvasantam Anu Visvasvajah Shvasanti Yam Chekitanam Anu Chittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Astu Sahasramurdhne. Now just one note. The third line has this word Sarshapayati, and it's a little bit irregular. Otherwise it's the Govinda prayers meter. So watch that when you're on the third line. You can listen to it. Okay. Sorry about this. I'm missing my iPod. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manu Chittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Stu Sahasramurdhne. All right. So just tolerate this for a minute. Yam Vaishvasanta Mano Visvasajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Stu Sahasramurdhne. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Stu Sahasramurdhne. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Sahasramurdhne. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Stu Sahasramurdhne. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murdhni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Stu Sahasramurdhne. Purushottam. Yang Vaishvasanta Manu Visvasvajakshvasanti Yang Chekitana Manuchittaya Uchchakanti Bhumandalam sarshapayati yasya murni. Tasmai namo bhagavate susahasramurne. Ishtadev, you want to try? Meanwhile, you can go. Yang Vaishwasantam Manaviswasajakshwasanti Yang Chekitana Manachittaya Uchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Susahasramurne. Go ahead. Yang Vaishwasantam Manuvishwasajakshwasanti Yang Chekitana Manachittaya Uchakanti Bhumandalam Sarshapayati Yasya Murni Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Susahasramurne. Yam, whom, Vai, indeed, Shwasantam, endeavoring, Anu, after, Visvasrajaha, the directors of the cosmic creation, Shwasanti, also endeavor, Yam, whom, Chekitanam, perceiving, Anu, after, Chittayaha, all the knowledge-gathering senses, Uchakanti, perceive, Bhumandalam, the huge universe, Sarshapayati, become like seeds of mustard. Yasya, of whom? Murni, on the head. Tasmai, unto him. Namaha, obeisances. Bhagavate, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences. Astu, may there be. Sahasramurne, who has thousands of hoods. Okay. Translation. My dear Lord, it is after you endeavor that Lord Brahma, Indra, and the other directors of the cosmic manifestation become occupied with their activities. It is after you perceive the material energy, my Lord, that the senses begin to perceive. The Supreme Personality of Godhead holds all the universes on his heads like seeds of mustard. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, that Supreme Personality, who have thousands of hoods. Should be have, not has. No purport. Shri Shukavacha Sangstato Bhagavan Evam Anantastamabhashata Vidyadatapatim Pritas Chitraketum Kurudvaha. Shukadeva Goswami continued, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, being very much pleased with the prayers offered by Chitraketu, the king of the Vidyadhars, replied to him as follows, O best of the Kuru dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Yan Nārada Aṅgirā bhyam te vyaditam me nushasanam sangsiddho staya rajan vidyaya darshanachame. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantadev, replied as follows, O king, as a result of your having accepted the instructions spoken about me by the great sages Nārada and Aṅgirā, you have become completely aware of transcendental knowledge. Because you are now educated in the spiritual science, you have seen me face to face. Therefore, you are now completely perfect. Purport. The perfection of life is to be spiritually educated and to understand the existence of the Lord and how he creates, maintains, and annihilates the cosmic manifestation. When one is perfect in knowledge, he can develop his love of Godhead through the association of such perfect persons as Nārada and Aṅgirā, and the members of their disciplic succession. Then one is able to see the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Although the Lord is unlimited, by his causeless mercy, he becomes visible to the devotee, who is then able to see him. In our present position of conditioned life, we cannot see or understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Nababed Grahim Indriyahi Sevan Mukehi Jivadao Swayameva Sparatyadaha. No one can understand, translation, no one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. If one takes to spiritual life under the direction of Nārada Muni or his representative, and thus engages himself in the service of the Lord, he qualifies himself to see the Lord face to face. The Brahma Samhita 538 states, Premanjana Chudita Bhakti Velochanena Santak Sadaiva Dideheshi Velokayanti Yang Shyama Sundadama Chindu Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord, Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyama Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. Close quote. One must follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Thus one becomes qualified and later sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as evinced by Maharaj Chitraketu. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is the culmination of Chitraketu's prayers to Anantadev. And he is appreciating how everything is, nothing happens without the will of the Lord. This idea that we don't see anything until Krishna sees. We can't breathe until Krishna breathes. Everything is coming from his impetus and his arrangements. And that's why he says in his final prayer here, my Lord, it is after you endeavor that Brahma, Indra, and the other directors of the cosmic manifestation become occupied with their activities. It's after you perceive the material energy, my Lord, that the senses begin to perceive. So this is a essential part of our awareness in Krishna consciousness that we're trying to awaken. And that is that everything that we have, everything that we do, everything that we think, it's all dependent on Krishna's arrangement, on his establishment of this material world, and including our material bodies, so that we can do anything from moment to moment. And that understanding of dependence is also an impetus for prayer and surrender and performing devotional service. This devotional service that we've been given by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his forebears, or the whole disciplic succession, is originally coming right from the Shastra, which is spoken by Krishna. He, not only the Bhagavad Gita, but all the Shastras, Vyasadeva wrote them down. He's also an incarnation of Krishna. The knowledge is coming to us because Krishna is pained to see so many of his children suffering so much due to ignorance. It's ignorance of the actual situation. What is Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, a very memorable line. Knowledge means understanding matter, spirit, and the controller of both. You remember that? Matter, spirit, and controller of both. So, what do we really understand of that in our ordinary condition? Nothing. We're simply bound by the illusions and delusions caused by our absorption in material energy and our forgetfulness of Krishna. And we come down, especially in this age of Kali, to the status of two-legged animals. Without Dharma, without the process, Dharma as defined in the Srimad Bhagavatam. First, remember the very second verse, Dharma projita kaita votra. Dharma is so important. Here in this Bhagavatam, we're kicking out all these cheating dharmas. So Dharma, like everything else, can be distorted. It's like love, right? To most people in this modern age, love means sex. You know, in other words, it's practically synonymous in many cases, at least between man and woman. And so but that's not really the essence of love. The essence of love is desiring the welfare and the pleasure of the beloved constantly. And we can see that's the perfection of Krishna consciousness. What is this prema? It's defined nicely in the 4th chapter of the Adi Lila. Maybe you need to help me on the Bengali. Atmendriya priti vancha tare balik kam. Krishnendriya priti icha dare prem nam. Let's just take this apart, analyze this. So, Atmendriya priti vancha, the desire to please one's own senses, which is kind of the default of the conditioned soul, right? In every species of life. The desire to please one's own senses, which includes the mind, is called kama. And we know from Bhagavad Gita that this kama is the eternal enemy of the spirit soul. So right away in the material world we're under siege, although we don't know it. That this material desire that we're, in the normal course of events in this age of conditioned life, from childhood you grow up, or there's different desires that come about, some you give up, but you're always bound by these material desires. So what does it do? It covers your knowledge. Avritam jnanametina jnanino nityavaidina. Nityavaidina means eternal enemy. Nityavaidina kama rupena dushpadena nalenacha. And it's an enemy that is never satisfied. You may surrender to it, but that just inflames it even more. It'll come back. There'll be more material desire. So that material desire is nothing but, in Prabhupada's immortal purport in the end of the 3rd chapter, is nothing but prema that has been curdled, if you will. It has been distorted and corrupted by contact with the material energy, by the modes of nature. And so the whole endeavor and prospect of the process of bhakti is to purify that again, so that again it comes to prema. And in the process of doing that, we perceive Krishna more and more. That's what the verse Prabhupada quoted. Atakshi Krishna namadi namave grayam indriyai. You can't understand the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Lord with our presently contaminated senses. But if you start to serve, especially with the tongue, chanting, taking prasadam, of course hearing, Jivado svayameva spadatyada. Very important concept, that last line. Krishna proportionally reveals himself to you. It's not by your endeavor. Your endeavor is really a prayer. We're actually, all of our activity is a prayer. Most obviously the Hare Krishna mantra. And that prayerfulness, I'm simply serving Krishna according to the Shastra as given by the Parampara, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And hopefully by my endeavors I'll become purified enough so that Krishna will reveal himself. That's really what's going on. And what has happened? Srila Prabhupada, through his incredible endeavor, heroic efforts, has manifested the Lord in a form that we can perceive. Not purely, but we can at least perceive, beginning with the holy name. He began this movement with the holy name. And the holy name of Krishna is a manifestation. I think we're going to read that in subsequent verses. That is the form of the Lord that we can most easily perceive. And as soon as he had a chance, he also manifested temples with the deities. That's another sense. We can't see Krishna with our pleasant vision, our contaminated, covered vision. But we can see matter. So Krishna agrees to come through the medium of matter, such as stone or wood or brass, whatever it may be. But it's not stone or wood or brass anymore. Because it's been empowered, it's been installed in the authorized way by the spiritual master and worshipped with love, Krishna is actually there, and we can reciprocate with him. And some of these wonderful stories. Shakshi Gopal, when Lord Chaitanya was on his way to Jagannath Puri. Was it he or Nityananda who told that one? I forget. No, Nityananda told that story. Sakshi Gopal, where you have these two Brahmins, one older, one younger, traveling to Vrindavan. And the young one was poor, and the elder one was rich. But the young one was very nicely following the Dharma, and he was taking care of the old man, who needs so much help, and you can imagine walking, from a long way off. And so when they got there and they were in front of the deities, of Krishna in Vrindavan, the old man said, "I have to give you something back. You've been so nice to me." And said, "No, this is just my duty. No. So when we get back, I'll give you my youngest daughter in marriage, And the young man said, "Oh, be careful, because I'm poor, you're rich. It's not going to be a very compatible for your mother, your wife, and your son. Won't accept it." He said, "No, this is my daughter. I can do it, and I want to do it. It's important, So they get back there, and sure enough, the wife says, "If you, he's just a poor Brahmin. We're, wealthy. It's not compatible. And if you do it, I'm going to commit suicide." And the brother, or the son, her brother was adamant about it. And so he didn't say anything. Time went on, and finally he said, "Oh boy, he promised this in front of the deities. This is serious." So for his sake, not because he wanted to marry, but because he wanted to keep his promise true. Otherwise, you promise in front of the deities, keep it. That's a serious offense. So he goes to the house and he says, "What's happening? You haven't mentioned anything. We're back now 6 weeks. You don't say, what about that, promise to give me your daughter?" And the brother hears it, and he comes out with a stick and he says, "Get out of here. You gave my father some drug, datura," he mentions, which is today is a drug. It's still covered, the drug. "And you stole the money from him, and you're lying about this." So the guy was running away, and then finally, and so he, I think he gathered the elders and said, "This is serious business." So they went back, and it was the son. Oh no, the brother says, "All right, look, you say that you said this before the deity. So if he bears witness for the promise of my father, then I'll believe it and I'll give it." And so he said, he's an atheist. So what's he going to do? He's a stone statue. He's not going to do it. So and the young man was saying, "Well, yes, Krishna could do that. Okay, it's a good deal. Let's sign it. Everyone sign it up." So they had all the village elders there. So he goes back to Vrindavan, and he comes before the deity, and he said, "I need you to actually bear witness. But you saw this, and he says, How can a stone statue, walk anywhere? It doesn't make any sense." So he said, "Look, if you can talk, you can walk, right?" So Prabhupada says, he defeated him in argument. So Krishna agreed to walk the deity. Imagine walking the altar. But so here's the deal. He said, "Okay, I'll be behind you, and you prepare some rice every day for me and offer it, and you'll be able to hear the tinkling of my ankle bells as I walk behind you. But if you turn around and try to see me, then I won't go any further." You see? So he said, "Okay, that's the deal." So he did everything, and then he got just near the town where they were, and he couldn't hear the ankle bells anymore. So what's going on? He turned around and said, "Okay, that's it. I'm staying here." He said, "Okay, that's all right." So they get all the town. So he brought all the townspeople out, and he bore witness and to the promise, and the marriage was duly taken. That was one. I'm not going to tell the other story, but it's a similar thing where the deity responds to the ardent desires of the pure devotee. In this case, Madhavendra Puri himself, who wanted to prepare this sweet rice. Actually, it is sweet rice. I heard it's not just kheer. And for the deity back in Vrindavan, he said, "Oh, I desire to perform, to taste the offering before it was offered. Therefore, I've committed a great offense." So he went out to the marketplace and he was just meditating, But the deity took one of the pots of sweet rice and hid it behind his clothes, so you couldn't see it. And then when the Pujari came, he told him, "Go find Madhavendra Puri and give him the sweet rice he wanted." So here's another instance. So the idea is that the deity is ready to respond to the level of our surrender and purity and love. And devotees can attest to how Prabhupada was communing with the deities. Sometimes he was crying, and one time he said he was praying ardently to the deity, like he was in prayerful. And one devotee asked him, "What are you praying for?" So, "I'm praying that I don't fall down." And the devotee said, "But you can't fall down, you're a pure devotee." He said, "Yeah, because I'm always praying. Because I'm always praying that I won't fall down." Anyway, the idea is that Krishna, again back to the theme of the verses here, that Krishna will reveal himself and make himself available to us in proportion to our surrender and our purity and our prayers. And we should have that faith. And just see the incredible transformation that has taken place in Chitraketu. Of course, he had this special dispensation that he had Nārada Muni and Aṅgirā, instructing him, and they brought his son back to life, his dead son, and he instructed him. So it was quite a shocking thing. But he understood, yes, that this incredible attachment I have to having a son is Maya. As the boy was saying, whose son am I really? I've had so many fathers and mothers, and and I'm going to have so many. So he was breaking that attachment. And so Chitraketu in his prayers, and it's interesting that this last prayer, this is nice meter except for a slight irregularity. So he's come out of his scene where, we couldn't chant him so evenly. Anyway, it's a unique thing in the Bhagavatam, but they're all wonderful prayers. So this is the lesson here, is that we should maintain that desire, that aspiration, not to get anything from Krishna, anything material. That's the lowest kind of relationship, order supplier. No, we want to get the greatest treasure that there can possibly be, and that is prema dhana, the treasure of love for Krishna, and he can bestow that. And how do we become eligible? By carefully following, as mentioned here, the instructions of Krishna as given through the Shastra and given through the Parampara, the spiritual masters. That is the challenge, and that is where yesterday was mentioned, the weakness of heart, Vidya Daubalyam. This phrase comes up in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna doesn't want to do his duty, right? He's want to leave the battlefield. And so Krishna asks, how does this weakness of heart come upon you? Give it up and fight in the battle. But Arjuna doesn't do that until the end. We're now in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We're almost at the conclusion of the book and in evening classes. And this verse is coming up, I think, tonight. No, I think in a couple of verses, Krishna will now speak again the most confidential knowledge, which is Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Very, very simple. It's all condensed to those things. Think of me, become my devotee, bow down to me, and worship me. You will certainly come to me because you're my very dear friend. In this last part, he uses that. It all boils down to that. But that's not so easy. How to think of Krishna all the time and to become his devotee, we don't know how. Therefore, we need instruction. And our faith needs to be renewed and strengthened every day by hearing and chanting. By the morning program, the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the samsara prayers, we call them Gurvashtaka, first line of which is everybody, including us, we're burning in the fire of material life. Samsara dhava nanalida loka. I think I heard it was a lecture, Prabhupada was going over this, and he said, okay, what does it mean? And I think there was one person who was able to tell what it means. We should know what these words, all this Sanskrit and Bengali means. It'll be a much deeper experience. So, this is, Chitraketu, there's so many wonderful stories like this of devotees who have perfected their lives, got revelations, and were able to escape from the bonds of material life. So this is what the Bhagavatam is all about. It's giving us a chance, saying this is available for everybody, every living entity, every embodied soul, especially in the human form, can take up this process of devotional service. And this verse that's quoted in the CC, in the 17th chapter, and in Bhagavad Gita also, Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Namave Grayam Indriyai. So we're in a situation, because we're covered by the modes of nature, we cannot appreciate the real significance of the holy name and the pastimes of the Lord, the qualities, the practice of devotional service. But if we're fortunate enough to have enough faith due to association, through reading the books, through curiosity, whatever it may be, to come in contact and association of devotees who are practicing, and we are willing to suspend our doubts and disbelief enough to really take up the process, investigate, get a book, and so forth, and come in contact with the Lord through the transcendental words of the spiritual master. Then the process of purification begins. And then when we chant Hare Krishna, they hear the holy name of Krishna, something happens, because Krishna is in our heart and He's showing mercy. He's giving us a little bit of realization, a little bit of understanding. There's something here. Just like that first stage when Prabhupada came and he's sitting in the Bowery, like the last place you would expect someone, the gold, but that's what was given to him. And he's playing on that half of bongo drum, and he's surrounded by people who are chanting. Many of them, some of them are not chanting. Some of them just checking it out, But among those, there were those who were ready to try the process. This is one of the great aspects of that age, experimentation. Unfortunately, it often meant with drugs, which sometimes may wreck your mind, your brain, so you were helpless. We had some people come who had taken too much LSD. This is many years ago. I still remember. I can never forget. He was walking around Tulsi, and he was trying to figure out what to do to water Tulsi. I mean, he'd done it 100 times before. It was sad. He couldn't do it. So we don't need that. Prabhupada said, no, you don't need the drugs. But you can still get high, stay high forever. Yes, print a pamphlet like that, and pass it out. They were saying, this is the real high. High means you're elevated. You're off the bodily platform. You're off the illusory platform. And you can begin to see things as they are. You see yourself as spirit, not just as external body. And you perceive in Krishna in the form of His name. So by that purification, then Krishna on His own, He reveals. The whole idea is we cannot storm the battlements, of heaven and see God, show me God. And Prabhupada always said, do you have the eyes to see? And he's thinking of this verse, and the answer is no, But they have the ears to hear, you see, and the tongue to taste, vibrating the name, hearing it, and tasting Krishna Prasad. This was Lord Chaitanya's, how he preached to the masses. Harinam Sankirtan, extensive. And then everyone then take prasad, And when you get a little more energy, start kirtan again, That was his mass preaching. To his intimate associates, he was dealing with the highest, level of Ramananda Roy, and so that's another thing. But Srila Prabhupada, he's following that carefully. That's the essence of it. They're now, I think they skipped a year or two because of the pandemic, but they're doing the Polish tour again. There was a nice video on dandabus.com, introduced Swami and kind of introducing it again. Here's what we're doing, and there's so many of the people are so happy to see him again. A lot of old timers, he's been doing it for 30 years. And they come out and yes, take a little prasad, But it's that's the Hare Krishna movement, chanting and dancing and feasting and philosophy. Philosophy is essential. So that's what we're doing. That's why these classes are so important. Okay, I'm gonna let's see, and just to review here this wonderful verse from the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Valochanena, that those who have smeared their eyes with the pulp of love, with prema, then they can see the Lord always, sada, within their heart, in His beautiful Shyamasundar form. Chintya Guna Sarupam is inconceivable qualities, is Govinda I worship, So Krishna agrees to show Himself. You perceive Him with you at all times. Isn't that a wonderful goal to have? It doesn't come from any demand or anything like that. It comes from sincerity of devotion and willingness to to try to do what Krishna wants us to do, and the spiritual master, become Krishna conscious and give Krishna consciousness to others. And then Krishna responds to that, as he says in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, there's no one more dear to me than those who are trying to spread my message. Or, in a little more poetic way, the gopis' prayers, Tavakatam matam, tapta jivanam, kavabediditam, kalmashapaham. Shavanamangalam shimaratam, bhubigunantihe, buridhajana. The gopis are praying to Krishna to come back to them. They're, in the middle of the rasa dance. They're sitting on the bank of the Yamuna offering these prayers. And one of the prayers is, the nectar of talks about you is the life and soul of those living entities who are suffering in this material world. Tapta jivanam, it's burning. Kavabediditam, and is spoken by great devotional poets, and it destroys all sinful reactions and suffering, and full of spiritual power. Certainly those who are spreading your message in this world are the greatest welfare workers. So we're all part of this movement, and we're trying to spread it. So when we follow and try to refine our devotional service carefully, we become more potent preachers. People see that they say, "Whoa, this person has something, that I don't have." And you're able to attract people to take the first baby steps in Krishna consciousness. So that's my take on this. It's such a wonderful pastime how Chitraketu comes. And then, we've already read the end of the story. Now, this is a flashback, right? So Chitraketu, then he gets blessed by the Lord. He has these wonderful prayers. And then he goes traveling, in the airplane. And then he gets into trouble because he kind of laughs at Shiva. But even though has to take this horrific demon body, he's just angling for a way that he can be killed by Indra, so that he can give up this body and go back to Godhead, which is what happens. So this is all a very entrancing, very absorbing story in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, filled with all kinds of wonderful instruction, prayers, adventure, battles. This is Bhagavatam. Any questions, comments on any of these points? Bhakta Joseph, give him a mic.
Okay, you talked about totally saturated.
Uh-huh.
So you can see what? And then...
because saturated, this was in the Premanjana Charita, saturated with love for Krishna. That's the whole thing. And then Krishna will talk to you through the deity, through your heart. You're tasting the name, you'll be you won't want to stop. It'll say sweeter than sweetest, as we hear from the Shastra, the pure devotees. That's what it is. But it means following the nectar of instruction. Nectar of instruction is very important. Atyahara priyasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. Janasangascha lalyam cha shadbir bhakti pranashiti. Doesn't just say nashiti, he says pranashiti, means totally destroy. So here's how you can totally destroy your little creeper. It says atyahara, eating too much. That becomes can be a main impediment unless you decrease. Or over collecting. Material things. Hey, if you're using it for Krishna, it becomes your ticket back to Godhead. So that's the thing. But the next word tells the different. Prayasas, trying very hard and planning for material things. Directing your energy, your planning and your ideas and everything towards some material aggrandizement, which absorbs your mind. It's where you want to get absorbed in Krishna. Prajalpo, hearing or repeating talk that has nothing to do with Krishna. And there's plenty of that around. There's no shortage. Niyamagraha, that has two meanings. Niyamagraha, I think you pointed out, you asked a question about. Oh, Subhadra, I'm sorry. Sanskrit is such an incredible language. You can divide this word in two ways. Niyama agraha or niyama agraha. And the long A changes it completely. So niyama are the rules and regulations. coming to them among both positive and negative. So one is you're doing them, but you're doing them grudgingly. You're not doing them with the motive, oh yeah, this is going to help me get purified, therefore I'll perform this austerity, whatever. You're just kind of going through the motions, and oftentimes your mind is elsewhere. You're in a kirtan, but your mind be a million miles away. So that's obviously going to damage your creeper, your devotion. And the other is ignoring them altogether. Not showing up and like that. So that will obviously destroy your bhakti. Janasanga. Now this is repeated in the positive and negative. So janasanga means associating with materialistic persons, non-devotees. Everyone knows who you associate with affects your personality, your ideas, everything like that. And laulyam means greed or a strong desire, even if you don't act on it, strong desire for material things. That's also these 6, which expand into 8. Then, on the positive side, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but this is why these are only 11 instructions, but they're essential for advancing in devotional service, and they're progressive also. Then, what should we try to embrace? Qualities: utsahan, enthusiasm for every aspect of devotional service. And if you're not enthusiastic, act enthusiastic, and Krishna will give you the enthusiasm from within. Nishchayad, determination. Here's where the vidya dalbham comes in. Give up the weakness of heart. Utsahan nishchayad dharyat, patience. Don't say, yeah, I tried it for 6 months, it didn't do anything for me, No, that's not how it works. You have to keep persevering and working and having patience. Enthusiasm and determination and patience in the matter of what? Tat karma pravartanat means going through, finding out all of the process of devotional service we're expected to do and doing them. Getting up early, following the 4 regs, chanting 6 rounds, etc. That's tat karma pravartanat. Now, sangha tyagat. So this is the opposite of janasanga, giving up association of materialists. And that association can come through media, and then so that has to be understood. And janasanga, sato vritte, sangha tyagat, sato vritte. So sato vritte means following in the footsteps of the great acharyas. That's the other thing. Sangha tyaga, shadbir bhakti prasiddhyati. One is pranashyati, which totally destroys, and the other is prasiddhyati, which totally helps you achieve perfection. So those are the second and third instructions of the Upadeshamrita. There's only 11. I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but they go progressively and they help us, So that's for everybody. So those are, and of course, all the nectar of devotion that Rupa Goswami was in detail, the process and the goal of chanting. So absorbing ourselves in these books and then trying to follow carefully the instructions, that's the best way to advance. But it means that we have to accept austerity, give up things we want to do, and take on things we may not want to do. But as you advance, the things that were austerities before become the greatest nectar. Just like this Tulsi Puja, as part of the morning program, getting Tulsi Puja. If you really understand what's going on with this Tulsi Puja, it's like, what a gift Prabhupada gave us. His godbrothers were saying, what are you giving that song for? That's like, it's too advanced. Here they were. But there it is. All right, anyone else? Locally or remotely? I think our friend Vijay Krishna must be traveling somewhere, probably in India or something. Okay, thank you for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.